Today, we're digging into a pretty provocative opinion piece that asks a really tough question. Is there a double standard in how the world is responding to the crises in Gaza and Ukraine? The author makes a powerful case, and we're going to break down their central arguments.
So this is it. This is the central, provocative question the entire article is built around. Right from the get-go, the author frames their whole argument as an investigation into this perceived double standard. And really, this one question drives everything else they have to say.
So to build their case, the author starts with a really stark, direct comparison between the two crises. They argue that the difference in the Western response isn't just a matter of degree, a little more here, a little less there. No, they're saying it's a matter of fundamental principle.
And here's where the author presents this really sharp contrast. For Ukraine, they point to what they see as decisive actions, military support, billions in aid, tough sanctions. But when they turn to Gaza, the language completely changes. They characterize the response as silence, weak statements, and hollow words. The author's conclusion? A complete lack of accountability. According to the piece, this side-by-side comparison is the core evidence for their entire critique.
And right here, the author gets to the emotional and really the moral heart of their argument. They move beyond the politics and the military aid to ask this really fundamental ethical question, directly challenging you, the reader, to think about the human cost of this perceived double standard. Okay, so after laying out what they see as a clear double standard, the author moves from just describing the problem to pinpointing blame, and they are not subtle about who they believe is responsible, not at all. You see, the piece doesn't speak in generalities. Its criticism is laser-focused on one specific political group, the UK's Labour Party. The author holds them directly responsible for what they describe as both inaction and, well, complicity. So why this specific accusation? Well, the author lays out a whole list of claims. They allege that the Labour Party has just stood by, that they've supported arms deals, refused to use the word genocide, shielded the Israeli government from accountability, and offered only what they call empty gestures. This is the evidence they present to back up that really serious charge of complicity. And this is the author's powerful conclusion on the matter. It's a very strong, very uncompromising statement. It completely reframes the role of an opposition party, arguing that, in this case, they've actually become collaborators in the very situation they should be opposing.
But the author doesn't just stop at criticism. The piece then shifts gears, moving from assigning blame to demanding specific action. It lays out a clear set of interventions that they believe are necessary right now.
So, the author outlines this really clear three-part plan. First, allow international observers into Gaza. Second, deploy a humanitarian protection force, and it's important to note they say this is not for combat, but to witness events and protect civilians. And third, hold war criminals accountable. These are presented as immediate, tangible actions that could be taken. And here, the author brings their analysis all the way down to the ballot box. After making their whole case against the Labour Party, they conclude with this really explicit instruction, turning their entire argument into a direct political call to action for the reader. Finally, the author ends not with a political demand, but with a personal challenge. They aim to leave every single reader with a final, kind of haunting question that's meant to linger long after you finish the article. This is the author's final challenge. They frame this moment as one that's going to be judged by history, and they put the reader directly in the hot seat. It forces you to consider how you'll one day answer for your actions, or maybe your inaction. It's a rhetorical move that's designed to instill a really deep sense of personal responsibility. So, after all the political analysis and the specific demands, the entire argument of the piece really boils down to this one question. The author's ultimate goal seems to be to push the reader beyond just being a passive observer of world events. They leave you to reflect on a simple yet profound challenge. When you witness what you believe to be an injustice, what is your responsibility?